Hello, everyone, and good evening. Welcome to the Linglobe channel. This time, we'll be bringing you content about preserving the world's languages for the future. Please enjoy it to the end.
Usually, when we think about how people identify themselves, it comes down to like lines on a map, right? You are from this country or you were born within those borders.
Yeah, nationality is almost always tied to geography. I mean, it gives us a really neat, visible category to put people in.
Right, but for the Basque people, those map lines just kind of fade away. And as we step chronologically through the slides in today's source presentation, keeping things really simple for anyone totally new to this, our mission for this deep dive is to explore Europe's oldest surviving language and culture.
Exactly, because their core identity isn't defined by a physical border at all. They actually call themselves the Euskaldunak.
Which just means those who speak the language right, Euskara.
Yes, and to understand how a language becomes the actual foundation of an entire people, you have to look at the second slide, which shows where they physically establish themselves.
Ah, the Western Pyrenees.
Right, it's this incredibly mountainous terrain that historically acted as, well, a massive fortress of coast and stone.
So the geography was essentially a natural sanctuary, like they were locked in behind this mountain range.
Which allowed them to maintain their independence for centuries. I mean, they fended off Romanization and even modern assimilation.
Wow. And that physical isolation directly caused their linguistic isolation, didn't it?
It absolutely did. Euskara is what linguists call a true language isolate. It completely predates the arrival of all Indo-European languages in Western Europe.
Which is just wild to think about. I mean, Romance, Germanic, Celtic, Slavic languages, they all belong to this massive family tree.
Right, they all connect eventually.
But Euskara sits completely outside of it. It's like finding a lone biological species in a remote valley that has zero evolutionary link to any other living creature.
Zero proven connections to any other language on Earth.
Yeah.
It just exists on its own branch.
So if this language evolved entirely in a vacuum, without any of the linguistic cousins the rest of Europe relied on, how does its actual architecture work?
Well, as the next section of our presentation breaks down in really plain terms, it operates on a fundamentally different mechanical level.
Like the word order, right?
Yeah, instead of the subject-verb-object order English speakers use, it uses subject-object-verb. And it completely lacks grammatical gender.
Interesting.
But the most defining feature is that it's highly agglutinative.
Agglutinative. I know that term basically means putting things together, kind of like a linguistic Lego set, right?
That's a perfect way to visualize it, yeah. You start with a base piece and just keep snapping on additions.
So you take a root word, and then what?
You can stack over 14 distinct tags or markers onto that single root to encode meaning. Subject, direct object, indirect object, all of these get built directly into one complex structure.
Oh, wow. So instead of using separate helper words, a sentence is less like a train of separate boxcars and more like one massive, highly engineered engine.
Yes, exactly. And if you look at the visuals we have on the slides, their unique aesthetic extends to how the language actually looks in print.
Letra Vasca, right. That highly stylized typography.
You see it on everything from shop signs to folk art. It really visually cements that identity. And while it's ancient, they made a highly practical move in the 20th century.
And standardization, right?
Yeah, into Euskara Batua, or Unified Basque. It ensures the language can survive in modern media and education. Practical things like kaiso for hello or escarakesko for thank you.
Escaric Asco. But a language only really survives if the people actually breathe life into it daily.
Very true.
And since widespread written standardization is relatively modern for them, they had to rely on other methods to keep their history intact.
Which they did through incredibly robust oral and visual traditions. Take Bertolaritza, for example.
As sung poetry.
Yes, it's a form of spontaneous competitive sung poetry. For centuries, this was how they transmitted history, humor, and cultural values down the generations.
So it wasn't just entertainment, it was an actual survival mechanism for their historical record.
Precisely. And that sits alongside powerful visual symbols, like the loburo. It's an ancient swirled cross representing cosmic balance.
Oh, and their modern flag too, right?
Yes, it features a green saltire representing the historic oak of Guernica.
Moving on to the physical side of the culture in our presentation slides, though, I'm kind of stuck on Harry Kirillak, their traditional sports.
Ah, yes, the traditional sports are fascinating.
I mean, you have pelota, which is this incredibly high-speed handball, and Haruja where athletes are hoisting 300-kilogram stones.
It's intense.
That doesn't look like a game to me. It looks like brutal manual labor. I mean, how did chopping logs and lifting boulders become a national pastime?
Well, because for a long time, grueling physical labor was exactly what survival in that fortress required. Farming those steep mountains and fishing the rough coastlines demanded immense physical endurance.
So they just turned work into a game.
Essentially, yes. Over time, they transformed those brutal daily chores into grand communal celebrations of strength. Its labor elevated to community pride.
It's incredible. They started in a geographical fortress, but they ended up building a cultural one that completely defies borders. And it's not some dying relic either.
Not at all. Today, there's a massive modern revival. Around 750,000 people speak Euskara.
That's a huge number for a language isolate.
It really is. There's a thriving ecosystem of bilingual schools, literature, and a massive global diaspora, especially across the Americas.
People who are actively maintaining these roots across oceans.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, in our modern age of rapid globalization where everything can start to feel a bit, blended and uniform, it leaves you with a really compelling question. What can the unyielding Basque commitment to protecting their ancient roots teach you about preserving your own unique local identity?
Thank you for watching until the end. We will continue to bring you many more languages from around the world. Please subscribe to our channel. See you next time on the Linglobe channel.